fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World. Today we're here in Paris in the winter, and today what we have for you are the don'ts of traveling Europe in the winter. And I want to tell you this one. Don't think that you're going to be cold from the snow when you travel Europe in winter, because you're going to be cold from the rain and the wind. That's what's really going to get you. So I want to tell you this. Don't forget to bring the right clothing. It's not puffer jackets and stuff, because those puffer jackets, they can keep you warm, but they might not keep you dry. So make sure you're bringing, maybe you have a hood or something, like have your umbrellas, but most importantly, make sure you have waterproof jackets so you don't get soaked through your clothes. Also, don't forget waterproof shoes when you're going around, because honestly, when you get wet, you don't ever dry off here in the winter time. So make sure you are ready for that, all right? So maybe I'll go someplace not as wet and windy to film the rest of this, because I am freezing right now. And where you really see those clothes kind of things is also on those cheap airlines, the budget airlines. A lot of those only have summer seasonal flights. So if you're looking up and you say, oh wait, EasyJet goes there, it goes there, well, make sure it's not just EasyJet June, July, and August, okay? So be aware of that, because a lot of reduction in those cheap flights happen in the winter. So if you're thinking to go, don't maybe go to the summery spots, go to some of the more city places like the Parises, the Romes kind of things, because those have the flights all year round, so you're not worried about things being closed in those big cities. Also, traveling winter, one of the best things about it, don't expect as long of lines or as much over tourism in the winter as in the summer. So when you go to places like here in Paris and you want to go to the Louvre, the lines are a lot shorter. You're not worried about not getting tickets into places, so that could be a really great thing. Also, don't think you're going to spend as much traveling in winter in Europe as you will in the summer or the spring, because so few tourists are coming here in January and February that you can get really great deals on accommodation, on flights. I mean, we come in January because I'm saving like $500 a flight versus coming at other times of the year. So think about that when you're looking for affordable times to come. Now, obviously, like I said before, the weather's not the best, but honestly, don't expect good weather when you're here, and you'll be okay, because if you expect nice sunny skies in the wintertime in Europe, no, it's dark. And I want to tell you about this. Don't forget about the timing of the darkness here in wintertime, because Europe is a lot farther north than like the US is on the whole scheme of things. So therefore it gets darker sooner, it stays dark longer. So do be aware of that. So if you want to do outside sights, get started in the morning, see those things, but it could be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's already dark, and so you can't take those things in. So do make sure you're planning your schedule around that darkness. So you may be thinking, wait, lower prices, less crowds? I should go to Europe in the wintertime. Well, I also got to tell you this. Don't think everything's going in wintertime in Europe, especially if you're going to a place like you want to go to the Greek islands, those kind of things. They're not really happening. You go to the south of Portugal, like, oh, people will go down there for a winter break. It's still chilly down there, and there's not a ton of people, so not everything is open. So you don't necessarily get to do everything in certain parts of Europe in the winter time. So do be aware of that. So you're going to hit up Greece, Portugal, Spain. Make sure you're checking to see if anything is actually closed during the winter, so you make sure you can see the right things, because sadly, those Greek island hopping cruises, not really going on, in the winter time. Also, those ferries, really not very often as well. So be aware of that. Another great don't I have for you when you're coming here in the winter is don't miss out on the winter foods and the holiday foods that pop up during the winter time, because here in Europe there's foods that really only come out at certain times of the year. For example, if you're in Verona around Christmas time, they have pera, which is basically a bone marrow like gravy kind of thing. It's fantastic. Or maybe you've had panettone at Christmas time back home. Yes, that's from Italy. Or maybe you want to have the glühwein or the vin chaud, the hot wine, the hot and mulled wine in Germany or here in France. I mean, you have so many great dishes that just pop up for the holidays. Bûche Noël. I mean, you can really enjoy it. So when you are out, make sure you ask, hey, what are the holiday dishes you do have here? Because sometimes it might be like in Germany, they have Ganze, they have goose, which is only available at Christmas time, because that's a traditional Christmas meal. So make sure you're asking around where you're going to go, because different places, different countries are going to have different, holiday foods you should try, winter foods you should try. And honestly, if you're out in the streets, one of my favorite things, it's not just at Christmas time, but throughout the winter, are the roasted chestnuts. Yes, you can get those roasted chestnuts a lot of places. So, you can relive the Christmas song all the time. Chestnuts are roasting on an open fire. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I really love, is just going and explore, having the different foods, meeting the people. It's a great time to come in winter, especially during the holidays, and even afterwards there still are some of those good dishes that are just kind of a winter specialty. Now, probably the best part about coming to Europe in winter are the Christmas markets, and I want to tell you this, don't miss out on coming to the Christmas markets all over Europe. Probably Germany and Austria are the most famous ones. Like, but when you go there, there'll be little market stalls with foods, candies, gifts, all kinds of really cool stuff. People outside drinking hot wine, and like Vin Chaud here in France, or Glühwein in Germany. And you really get out, and it gets you a chance to really meet the locals when you're here. And it's probably, for me, I found it's been the easiest time for me to actually meet locals is going to the Christmas markets. And if you've got kids, they'll have like little rides that they can ride as well. I mean, it's just really fun overall experience. You really get that Christmas vibe because Europe goes all in on Christmas with the lights and with the, the Christmas spirit and everything. And that's why you don't want to miss out. If you're wondering when it is, it usually starts the first weekend of Advent and then finishes like Christmas Day. Now, some cities are different, but it might be something to check out because coming in early December or anytime before Christmas in Europe is just wonderful for those Christmas markets. But I gotta tell you, don't think that Christmas spirit is gonna last very much past the 25th, because places like in Germany, the smaller towns, even medium-sized cities, they might close their Christmas markets on the 23rd of December and it's gone, like it's over. Now, bigger cities like here in Paris, there were some that were still open through the first week of January, but you can see this stuff is gone. So all that light, all that outdoorsiness that you love and meeting locals really kind of disappears, and it gets to be that dark, gloomy kind of winter vibe. So do be aware of that. But if you can come at Christmas time, before Christmas time, it is a magical time here in Europe. Now, I know I talked a lot about like bad weather stuff, but I want to tell you, don't think you're gonna have bad weather the entire time you're in Europe in the winter, because honestly, you can have great weather when you are there. I lived in Portugal for years. Now you wear a coat like once in the winter time. I'm here in Paris now, and it's a beautiful day. People are out jogging. I mean, literally, people are jogging out in shorts. It's a little cool for me, but you know, you can have beautiful days like this as well. So don't think it's going to be freezing cold all the time. So now we're here in Torino, Italy, and my next don't for you is don't think you can cover the same amount of ground in the winter as you can in the summer when you come to Europe. Because yes, if it's snowy and wet and icy and kind of stuff, just the physical, like be careful you don't slip and fall in your buttness, that's gonna be something. But just for the cold and the walking, you know, your 20,000 a day steps, you know, your summer thing might only be 10,000 steps or 12,000 steps in the winter time, just because of the weather, just because of the physical limitations and logistics of getting around. And that's why it's really important to also think about logistics. And I know I mentioned fewer, you know, planes and stuff, and it's a little bit more difficult, but honestly, don't forget to check train schedules, because some places like on Christmas or New Year's, sometimes there's no trains available in some places. So you do want to see that, because you may see, oh, it's every Tuesday, but this year, you know, there's a holiday that falls on that day. So just be aware of that. Now, another thing I think is really important when you're planning out your time, don't forget to look up indoor activities, because when you're outside that much, eventually the cold does get to you. And so it's good to plan in, hey, you know what, we're gonna be outside enjoying stuff during the morning, but I know by the afternoon, we're gonna be too cold, we're not gonna be outside, kids are gonna be complaining. Let's figure out indoor activities so you can do that. So plan for those museums, see what's available in the afternoon, because one of the things you don't want to be like, I'm so cold, but now it's 4:30 and all the museums are closed. Maybe do those during the day, and then the evening time you do a stroll around the city when you've been warm up all day in the museums, okay? Now, I think another thing with the warm up, don't be afraid to stop and warm up. Like, one of the things that kind of slows you down when you're traveling in winter time is because you get cold, you gotta warm up. So you might notice you stop into more cafes or more pubs or more restaurants just to kind of get out of the cold. Like, you're here in Italy, maybe you hit up a cafe, or you go to aperitivo time instead of walking around. You know, I know for us when we were in Portugal, yes, sometimes it even gets cold in Portugal, we would just stop in to have a little uma bica, just a little coffee to kind of warm up for a bit, get the kids warmed up, have a little toast de mista, a little sandwich, and then get back out. But we knew we needed to take that, because what happens is if you're outside in the cold for so long, it's kind of like your core temperature gets cold. When your core temperature gets cold, it's a lot longer to get warmed up again. So it's good to make sure you take those breaks. And maybe it is just going to the mall. Maybe it is to go shopping. Maybe it is to stop in a cafe. But don't forget to stop and warm up, just for a safety sake. And I know I'm talking about this cold, but you've noticed, like, I don't have my gloves on. Like, I'm not really super freezing cold, because I want to tell you this. Don't think winter in Europe is Minnesota cold, like when it's minus 40 degrees kind of stuff. Now, it can happen. Like, I lived in Lithuania, I lived in Finland, like, it could get very cold there, but it's much more of a temperate climate. I mean, when you look at Europe, most of it's like in Canada's latitude. However, the temperatures are more like lower Midwest than like Florida kind of stuff in certain parts. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I will say that, like, you can go outside longer here than you can in the US just because it's not as cold, okay? So don't be thinking I need 1900 layers and I can't put my arms down kind of stuff, because it doesn't really get that cold when you are here. Unless, of course, you're like in northern Finland or sometimes in the Baltics, but that's a whole other thing. And I think just an overall, I think the important don't to mention about coming to Europe in the winter is don't think it's the same vibe as in the summer. I mean, you definitely get a much more, like, I live here, I'm part of the people vibe in the winter because there's so many fewer tourists, because things are like more like normal life going on versus tons of tour groups going by and all kinds of stuff like that. So do be ready for having a completely different feel if you're visiting Europe in the winter versus the summer, because it does have a completely different feel. That's why I come all different times of the year. And I know if I want to have the one where I know I'm going to get the best chance to meet the locals, I'm going to be totally relaxed, no one's bothering me, I'm not worried about the pickpockets and all those kind of things, that's when winter really helps for me when I travel. So what are some of the don'ts you have for people traveling Europe in the winter? Please put in the comments below to help out other travelers enjoy this beautiful continent with fantastic people, fantastic fun, and fantastic culture all around. Bye from here in Torino.